time to time with Isaki Ibarra and see where he's at. But you know, we'd love to have Horiguchi come and fight Pettis at some point.
Michael Venom Page opened the main card with quite a performance. I mean, how impressed were you, and where do you think that, what kind of opportunity do you think he earned himself tonight?
I mean, Michael, I mean, he's one of my favorite fighters I've ever promoted, and the guy is so talented. He does things that not too many people can do, and especially in mixed martial arts. I mean, it's just a different kind of sport than traditional karate, but he's using traditional karate techniques that are working very effective in MMA. So to me, it's really for me fun to watch somebody with that kind of skill really you know, put it together and make it happen in the cage. So you know, who he fights next, I mean I think he's right up there. I mean, I think he's ranked number 2 now in the contention. So you know, we have Lima fighting in the fight coming up on June 11th on Showtime. After that, you know, we'll talk to Michael and see, you know, what's going on. But to me, he's right up there in the title contention, in my opinion.
Scott, Rumble Johnson came back, first fight in over 4 years, gets the knockout win in the second round, but he said in terms of fights, win or lose, this was the most disappointing night of his career. What are your thoughts on his performance and the fact that he feels like he let everybody down in a way?
Oh, I don't feel like that at all. Listen, this guy has been out for 4 years, and you know what? I was just telling somebody else this story. You know, I held another tournament back in 2011, and there was a kid named Daniel Cormier that was the altar that came out of nowhere and just started beating everybody up. And you know what? Jose was that guy. He was a guy that's very dangerous, that can strike. He's on a 5-fight win streak, I believe, or 4-fight win streak. And when you're training for an opponent like Rumble has been training for Romero, then all of a sudden it's a curveball for him too. It's really, you know, I think unfair to judge him just based on this fight, because he's been training for Romero, who is primarily a wrestler and grinder, and so now we throw a completely different opponent there, and you know, he got caught. Listen, everybody gets caught in this sport. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, he did what he had to do. He overcame the obstacle. He won in tremendous fashion. I think it was, you know, one of the biggest knockouts I've seen here in a while. And you know, now he moves forward to fight Nemkov. So there's been a lot of great action for him ahead, and I don't think he should be disappointed at all. I think you know, the fighters sometimes are their worst critic, and I think when he watches the tape, you know, he'll see he got caught. It happens, but you know, he overcame. So that's the most important thing in the victory.
The fight between Peter Queally and Patricky Pitbull lived up to the hype. Those two guys went at it. Ended kind of in a controversial way with the cut. What did you think of the stoppage of the fight?
Well, I'll tell you, as a fan, you know, you hate to see fights get stopped, but you know, he was cut, you know, in a bad way and in 2 places, and he couldn't stop the bleeding. So, you know, I think it was the right decision by the doctors to stop that fight. But to me, I was telling the coaches and his brother, hey, we could put the rematch together at some point. You know, I know Peter wants to fight, you know, for the title against Fabricio, but Fabricio's going to be busy with AJ here coming up. We'll have a date to announce, you know, in the next week or so. But we're going to put that fight together, and you know, after that, who knows? But in the meantime, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of that fight, to be honest, because I think, honestly, I think that Pitbull was maybe a little bit ahead on the scorecards, you know, until the fight ended.
And then last thing for me, I think the most popular guy on this card was the guy that was supposed to fight on this card, but then didn't end up fighting. Everybody called out James Gallagher tonight. It was like 4 or 5 different guys. Rafian Stotts, Johnny Campbell after his upset win, and then Patchy Mix had a lot to say, amongst others. What are your thoughts on that? Is there kind of a front runner in your eyes on the James Gallagher sweepstakes?
I mean, I think it depends on when he's ready to fight again. And, you know, these other guys are going to stay busy. And, you know, people love to fight James, and he loves to talk about it as much as he can. So we'll have a great promotion when it happens, no matter who he fights. But, you know, depending on when his injury heals and he's ready to come back, that'll determine who he fights at that time.
Scott, MVP with a huge win tonight against a ranked opponent. Do you think this finally ends the silly narrative that, you know, MVP only fights trash cans?
That I never understood. You know, people give a bad time online, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy is such a highly skilled mixed martial arts athlete, and has a traditional karate background, which you saw today, right? And is very effective. And you know, people give him a bad time, and I never understood it, because you know, he's fought, you know, some of the world's best. He fought Douglas Lima as a title holder, you know, I think it was the semifinals in Chicago, I believe. And yeah, he got caught, but Douglas Lima told me, he said, Coker, that guy he hit me and he hurt me. He's one of the few guys that Douglas has told me that he's gotten hurt by the opponent. So to me, the guy is explosive, he's fast, he's got a lot of power, he can knock people out. He's a dangerous guy for anybody because his style is so unorthodox. It's going to be interesting for any athlete to try to overcome that, because you know, if you're a wrestler, you try to take him down, you might end up with a knee in your face, right? And he's fast, and you know, I think that when he fights, you know, I think he deserves a title shot. So let's see what happens with the Lima fight. But depending on what happens and when MVP wants to fight again, I don't think a title shot is out of the question, to be honest.
And Bellator just announced an interim heavyweight title fight. Could we also see that for the lightweight division in the future?
You know, the reason why we did the heavyweight interim was, and we don't traditionally do those. We have never done it in the history of the company, is because it's been such a long time, you know, that this title's been sitting out there, and Bader is actively in our tournament with an ending that might be, you know, end of the year. So we didn't want to have it sitting out there, you know, longer than we need to. So for the heavyweight championship, we felt good because, you know, these guys could fight. When Bader fights, if he keeps winning, he fights at the end of the year. Maybe at the beginning of next year, you could fight the champ that wins the interim. But for the 155, Patricio is pretty much going to be done with this featherweight tournament in let's say mid-July, or you know, in that time frame. So you have a couple months to wait, and then after that, he can go defend his lightweight belt. So you can see Fabricio fighting for the lightweight belt probably, you know, I would say September, October. So I feel like that's why we don't need to do the lightweight belt for interim.
All right, we'll take a couple more here. Giancarlo.
Hi, Scott. Tonight was a great showcase for your bantamweight division. Can you just talk about the quality of that division? And is this, as more fighters come out of this, are they making a case for themselves to be the next Grand Prix that you guys go with?
You know, the Grand Prix hasn't been determined, but what I will say is, if you look at the quality of fighters in this division, it's stacked. And I think of fighters like Magomedov. I think about the two gentlemen that just fought tonight. I think about Horiguchi coming in. And when you start stacking this division and all the young talent that we have coming up, it's going to be, you know, a formidable division. And whether it's our tournament or not, that's been undetermined. We're focusing on the light heavyweight tournament right now, and then we'll decide what we do. Maybe, you know, come September.
Darren.
Scott, as weird as it is to say, we're almost halfway through the year, and most companies within the sports world have had to scale back over the last year or two. Bellator is continuing to grow, so I'm wondering if you have an accomplishment that you're most proud of so far as we're almost halfway into 2021.
You know, I'll tell you, this is you know, something. There have been a lot of challenges, a lot of adversity in keeping this company going in the COVID world. And as you guys can see here, we're still in the bubble. A lot of restrictions. You know, my staff's been here almost for a month, putting these fights on together. And so it's a challenge. But, you know, when I think about the victories, this is the greatest roster in the history of Bellator. And it's taken about 5.5, 6 years to put this roster together. If you think about our new television deal with Showtime, I think that's a great opportunity. You have, you know, it's the best combat deal in sports, because you have 22 boxing fights a year, you have 22 MMA fights a year, you know, you get 44 fights of combat sports on Showtime, and it's just part of the package. So to me, the new relationship with Showtime has been a game changer for us, and I think that they've done such a great job helping us grow this brand. And when I think about the roster and getting the fighters like AJ McKee, or you know, other fighters that we're developing from ground zero to the point where they can now fight in the big fights here in this company, is very important. Because, you know, we said before, you could buy free agents from the top down, which we will and we have, but you also have to build from the ground up, and that's what we've been very successful in doing.
Dylan.
Hey there, Scott. I was just curious because there had been prior media appearances where you were saying that you're expecting to have an opponent solidified for Fedor Emelianenko, and even could coincide with the Bellator 258 show that went down tonight there. Do you have any updates or specifics on the next opponent for Fedor?
Yes, unfortunately we don't have anything to announce today. We're still working through some things Location has been a little bit challenging, but he will fight sometime in the fall. You know, I think that he'll be here for Moldowski to fight Johnson. So hopefully we'll have something to announce at that time.
One or two more, Santiago.
Hi Scott, greetings from Amsterdam and congratulations on a beautiful night of fights. Is a middleweight title fight between champion Gegard Mousasi and Yoel Romero something you would entertain in the future? And do you think that would be the biggest middleweight title fight of all time in Bellator with two massive stars?
I think that would be a fun fight to watch. I'm not sure if Romero can make it to 185 right now, but you know, who knows in the future? Maybe that fight can happen. Right now, it's not on the books. We have to, you know, I think Yoel has to get a couple fights, a couple wins. If he can get a couple wins, then maybe he can fight Gegard. But as far as a fan, yeah, I would love to see that fight. That would be amazing.
Maria.
Hi Scott, wonderful event this evening. With the performance of both of the fighters in the main event and the fact that the bantamweight division is just stacked with killers right now, do you anticipate or can you speak to the idea of whether or not we would see Sergio's first title defense being a rematch against Archuleta, or would he be more than likely competing against one of the other guys in the top of the division?
You know, that's something that I'd like to go back and talk to the fight team, which I will. And you know, and then once we figure out, take a look at the opponents and maybe who is going to be ranked number 2 or 3, and then we can circle back. But right now, we're just not ready to make that commitment. You know, I want Sergio to enjoy his win. Personally, a rematch would be great. Fight against Magomedov would be great too. Fight with Horiguchi would be great. There's going to be a lot of options for this for Sergio to defend. But you know, if you're asking me tonight, it's really uncertain, and we'll have some more clarity maybe in the next week or so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.